with that being said, it is Monday, every Monday, pretty much right at 5:30. I'm a couple minutes early. We do hard right and hard left. If you're going to come out swinging with takes and you're going to talk as much as I do, then you need to be held accountable when you are wrong, and also you get to brag when you are right. So we have hard right, hard left. Let's start on the down note. Let's start with hard left this week. And so for hard left, it's got to be the San Francisco 49ers. Look, I have said for as long as anyone can hear me, and I've been right for the most part, but I think I was on the train a little too long, and the train is now going off the tracks, that I thought the 49ers roster was too good. I thought between all of their all-pro players, and I thought they had really actually gotten past the injury bug, which had plagued them a few years ago, and I was becoming a believer in Brock Purdy. And then I watched that game yesterday, and now the injury bug is real. McCaffrey's been out the entire season. Ayuk's going to miss the remainder of the season. They've had injuries up and down their defense. Everybody pretty much, I think, has missed time besides Bosa and Warner. And Trent missed some time yesterday because he swung at someone. But the injuries are really starting to add up on this team, who do play a very physical, tough brand of football that is more inclined to get you injured the more you play it. And I thought this team with Kyle Shanahan, who's been the envy of offensive coaches the last 3 or 4 years outside of Andy Reid, I thought they were pretty much bulletproof to be one of, if not the best teams in the NFC. And I watched that game yesterday, and I thought, you need to take the injuries, and everybody knows I'm not super high on the Chiefs. But it feels like, oh, yeah, this team is as good as the current Chiefs, but I can't say how I feel about the current Chiefs and then say a team that I think is just on par or right there with them, that I can't elevate them and make them higher than they should be. The reality is this Niners team is just not – they're not that anymore. For the last several years, they have been better than everybody just getting off the bus. Just list off the names. They've had more all-pro players. They've had more great players. They've had the best coaches. Like, they just get off the bus and you know, okay, we're getting our ass kicked today. And it no longer feels like that. And that doesn't mean Bosa still can't have a great game, or Warner can't still have a great game, or that Purdy won't have some great statistical games. But Debo's inconsistencies, Ayuk even prior to the injury was pretty much non-existent this whole year. Like, the Niners just are not. They've been that team. They've been the powerhouse of the NFC. It almost feels bad because to be that great for that 5-6 year stretch like they were, you would think they'd have a Super Bowl in there, but losing a quarterback in the NFC Championship game, having to go up against prime Patrick Mahomes, they just couldn't get it done. And while I thought it was going to be pretty much rinse and repeat and they were going to get back there, the reality is I think they, like the Chiefs, are no longer that team. And when you're no longer that team, it is harder for you to get up and just outright win some of these games that you might not need Kyle Shanahan to drop the best game plan because you're just physically better than the other team. You might not need Nick Bosa to wreck a game with his pass rush because you're that much better than the team. You don't need Brock Purdy to have a great game. And now Purdy's going into a week where no Deebo Samuel, potentially. He's in the hospital right now. No Brandon Ayuk, tore his ACL. He's out for the year. Still no Christian McCaffrey. Like, we are going to see what this team is going to look like with the injury stacking up. The defense is just flat out not as good as it's been in the past. Kyle even looks like he's almost lost a fastball per se as far as his kind of game plans that he comes out with. He used to always come out the game. The scripted plays, the first quarter, the dominance to start a game, which they were great for years. It feels like that's even taken a step back. And yeah, I think I'm so wrong on the Niners, and obviously the Rams I also thought could potentially win this division. I thought the only difference at the start of the season was if Aaron Donald was still here playing, then the Rams potentially could have won the division. I think now with all the injuries that the Rams have suffered and now all the injuries the Niners have suffered, plus the lack of quality play, there's a real chance the Seahawks could win this division with the rookie head coach and Geno Smith, which is something I would have never thought could have been possible coming into the year. But yeah, man, I was flat out wrong on the San Francisco 49ers. HardRight, though, for some time to brag. So I wanted to talk about Denver. And I really, really, really wanted to talk about Denver, especially coming off that Thursday night win that I watched FS1 pretty much all day and then some videos on ESPN, and literally nobody talked about the game. I watched a whole thing where on FS1, Breakfast Ball gave it about 30 seconds at the end of the show. Mark Schlereth put on the hat, but no one talked about the game going into it or even afterwards the next day. But then I thought, why don't we just dogpile? And who's the current team to dogpile on? It's the New York Jets. Now, Tony had this team winning the division. Tony thought this team was going to be a lot better than it was. And he also thought they were going to be great last year. Now, last year I gave him a pass as far as his pick being wrong because I thought, you know what, Aaron Rodgers is hurt. That's obviously a difference. You know, I'm not going to act like a Aaron Rodgers even older is not better than Zach Wilson, and maybe last year would have been different. But this year I was pretty firm on, I don't care if Aaron's healthy or not. I don't think he's that good anymore. I've never been the biggest Garrett Wilson guy. Everybody knows where I stand on Sauce Gardner versus PS2 is going to end up being one of those debates that feels like Chris Paul, Darren Williams, where maybe in the moment you could have made a case, but long term we're like, wait, we ever compared these two guys? I'm even watching the game last night, and Sauce has always been a physical corner, and I don't deny that you can be physical, but he has some of the worst technique you can have for a guy who's supposed to be an all-pro cornerback. One of the highlights, they literally show Chris Collinsworth just stops talking because he goes, Russ throws the ball, Pickens can't get around, and he's like, and Chris just goes, well, I guess Pickens couldn't get around fast enough. And you literally see Sauce Gardner grab his helmet, twist his head so that he can't actually get his head across. And the ref goes, yeah, no, that's fine. That's just regular defense. Like, Sauce Gardner is he has lost the technician part of corner. They just, he's again, we're going to look back at those debates and go, why was this ever a conversation? PS2 is clearly the better player. Devontae Adams, I like Devontae Adams. I think Devontae Adams could still be a great receiver in the right situation. And despite what their history might say, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets Aaron Rodgers specifically with him, that's no longer the right situation. Aaron Rodgers is no longer that player. And Devontae, who is no longer the player he was in Green Bay, can't elevate Aaron also to that level and go, oh, we're just going to fix this. We're going to make this better. We're going to figure this out. Again, what part of the Jets were we supposed to be the most impressed with? Their defense? Well, that was their head coach. And if you want to see immediate, you ever just make the wrong decision and it's just shown to you immediately? No one's going to cape that Robert Saleh was a great head coach. But the idea that he wasn't at least an above average to great defensive coordinator, I think has been immediately dispelled because look at their defense since he's been gone. Again, Aaron Rodgers willing to throw everybody under the bus. He's not a great leader. He's no longer a great player. Devontae Adams is still a really good player, but no longer a great or game-changing player. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. I like Breece Hall. I don't love Breece Hall. I think there was a lot of overrating on the Jets. They tried to fix with the offensive line. And again, we have to, at some point, if we are going to crown, and they deserve it, Brady and LeBron for how great they were so late into their careers, we also have to acknowledge it's an anomaly and not just go, oh, the next great 30-some-year-old quarterback who switches teams and is about to be 40 on a new team and act like that's just going to be okay or like, oh, that's just totally going to work. It's not. There's a reason why we've only seen Tom and LeBron do it. So, yeah, there's my dogpiling on the Jets.